Hi, I'm Yaffi Lvova, registered dietitian nutritionist with Baby Bloom Nutrition, and welcome to Nap Time Nutrition. Today we're talking about eating through the holidays. Do I mean surviving the holidays? Well, sure. Okay. Do I mean eating through the holidays and losing weight? No, I don't. I mean getting through the holidays, enjoying food, enjoying your family, setting appropriate boundaries, and not having any guilt. And I do want to say that this specific segment was based heavily off of a blog written by, oh, I can never remember this, by Emily Murray on beautifullybroken.live. And I've linked to that in the comments on her original blog. She's an eating disorder dietitian who wrote this beautiful blog about getting through the holidays while recovering with an eating disorder. And while it was very powerful in and of itself, I really think the main points that she brought up can be easily attributed to a lot of other people who maybe are not in recovery. Have not had an eating disorder past. So I'm going to present it from that angle, but I strongly recommend that you read the original blog to see what she has to say about it. The information she gave was very well worded, powerful, and very useful, and I believe really can be useful to people who don't have that history as well. So first, you don't know this about me specifically because I mainly deal with kids, but I consider myself a health at every size, non-diet, intuitive eating dietitian. So what does that mean? It means if you come to me for weight loss, I'm going to say, hey, let's look at your habits. Let's look at success as far as your mood, your quality of sleep, your social interactions, your interactions with community members, family members, and your spouse or whoever's closest to you. These are better indicators of health as opposed to looking at the scale, which really depends a lot on genetics and lifestyle factors that are sometimes out of our control. I'm not going to get specifically into all of those, but the idea is that what shows up on the scale is not black and white. It's not calories in, calories out. It's not anything that specifically is in our control. And so it's really difficult to look at the scale to see success. So I'm taking this from that aspect. And that's why I'm not talking about losing weight. That's why I'm not talking about limiting your portions. That's why I'm talking about setting appropriate boundaries with people closest to you and enjoying the moment and enjoying the atmosphere and enjoying the food that comes along with all of these delicious, meaningful holidays. So food is neutral. It's a really good thing for us as adults to internalize and to understand because we need to pass that along to our kids. If you want to raise a child who's got a healthy relationship with food, that means that they're not going to be dieting. They're not going to be checking the scale every morning. They're not going to base their self-worth on what's going on the scale. And the best thing that we can do, if we're not at that place ourselves, the best thing that we can do is to fake it for our kids, not talk about diet in front of them, not comment on our own body size or other people's body sizes. And this is really important around the holidays when you're not the only one giving your kids important messages. It's important to kind of mitigate the conversation when your kids are around another family member who's very diet centric and very focused on their body and very focused on what's going on in the scale and what other people look like. It's important possibly to have a direct conversation with that person about how this type of conversation is not healthy to have around kids, and they can do what they wish in their own time, but it's not a good message to get across to children. And the American Academy of Pediatrics really supports that. They say that discussing nutrition from that angle with kids is not appropriate. We don't discuss size. We don't discuss weight. We don't discuss body shape and what's desirable and what's not desirable. This is not a conversation to be had with or in front of children. And that's really difficult around the holidays to manage. You do your best, and you as the parent give your children the strongest, loudest message. You can control what you say, and you can't control a lot what other people say. So do your best with it. Try to talk to people to get them to not talk about that in front of your kids. And if it's not possible, then you just have an open, frank conversation with your children about how people come in every shape and size, and that's not the most important thing about them. Just like people have different skin color, or hair texture, or people prefer different colors on their nails. These are stickers, by the way. I'm really tickled by it. People come in all kinds of different packages, and what's really important is what's on the inside, and to treat yourself well. And treating yourself well also includes eating delicious things. So it's important. Now, okay, off that pedestal. As far as mindfulness, okay, I've talked about mindfulness before. I had Joy Carter, the wonderful Joy Carter, on to talk about food meditations and enjoying your food. This is super important around the holidays because there's a lot of food to enjoy. It's not like I have a craving for cheesecake, I'm going to have a piece of cheesecake. It's all of this like smorgasbord of delicious food in front of you, and you want to try it all. And sometimes your stomach just doesn't have room for everything, right? So what you can do is take a small amount of different things and eat it slowly and savor it. And I'm not saying take small portions because you need portion control for your waistline. I'm saying take small portions so that you have room to enjoy a lot of different things. Variety is key. I'm always pushing that. Variety is key. And to give your kids variety as well. And if they see you enjoying a lot of different types of things, they're also going to be more interested in enjoying a lot of different types of things. And you get to taste everything. So on the flip side of that, do you have to taste everything? No. You maintain your boundaries. And I'll get to this a little bit more. If you don't want to eat something, don't eat it. Think about it this way. If someone were to come to you, if I were to come to you and say, this broccoli is delicious, put it in your mouth right now, and there's all that pressure, are you interested? No, you're probably not, because there's pressure. And your kids are also not going to respond to that, either from family members or from you. So if you're involved in a culture where you show your appreciation for each other by consuming each other's dishes, that's perfectly fine. You can put it on your plate and not take a bite of it. No one is going to be watching what actually goes in your mouth. It's important to be culturally sensitive, but it's also important to have really good boundaries. No one determines what goes in your mouth. And no one determines what goes in your child's mouth either. Okay, it's really important, especially around the holidays, but that point is good for whenever. That point is good for all times, right? So you want to aim for balance for satiety reasons. You don't want to go overboard on all one type of food. You want to make sure that your plate represents different types of nutrients, not only for variety, but so you can feel full, and you can feel full for longer. So for instance, I love mashed potatoes. Who doesn't like mashed potatoes? But if your entire plate is different forms of mashed potatoes, you're probably not going to stay full for all that long. So take 10 different kinds of mashed potatoes, fine. But also have some significant source of protein on your plate, something with a little more fiber. I like potatoes. I don't get down on the nutrition of potatoes. They actually do have a good amount of potassium. And if you eat the skin, there's a lot of fiber as well. But usually mashed potatoes are made without the skin, unless you're eating at my father's house and he keeps the skin in, and well, it's delicious. But a plate of different kinds of mashed potatoes is not going to satisfy you overall. So make sure that there are different colors, different textures, and different nutrients represented. Not because you're trying to be quote unquote healthy during the holidays, but because you want to feel good at the end of this meal, and having some balance is going to help you have a positive attitude to help you get through the rest of the day / week / season. And back to mindfulness, eat slowly, savor the moment. Just like try to have a food meditation. If you want to refer back to that food meditation, I'll go look it up. I'll put it in the comments. Don't worry so much about your kids as much as you would usually do. You're going to let them learn natural signals. This is the nutrition form of natural consequences. They might eat too much and they'll get really full, and then they'll know what that feels like. And while you want to protect them from that, it's important that they understand what caused that and what it feels like, so that moving forward, they can make decisions for themselves. It's very important to parent that way, because telling them what to do only gets you so far, and it's not sustainable as far as when they're older. They need to be able to make decisions without you, and that means understanding that knowledge from an internal perspective. The lack of control during the holidays can be really uncomfortable. You're not in control of their schedule as much. You're not in control of their mealtime schedule, their bedtime schedule, their nap schedule. Everything kind of goes out the window when you're surrounded by family during the holidays. And it's important to just relax and go with it. It's going to be over. We're all going to make it through. And if you have a more relaxed attitude going into that, you're more likely to enjoy the time. You know that I'm a big advocate for schedule. You eat every 2 to 3 hours, you have a set schedule, kids like predictability, and all of that is out the window when you're having a big holiday with your family. So just take a step back, take a deep breath, and don't worry about it as much. There are anxiety-provoking situations. You're with a lot of family, and family often means drama, unfortunately, and sometimes friends too. And sometimes you're trying to hide things that come up, and whatever it is. There's a lot of anxiety, and anxiety shuts down your digestive system and your kids as well. And I touched on this. I did 2 nap time nutritions on stress and digestion. Not only is it going to cause your digestion to shut down or possibly move in reverse, but that anxiety, your kids are going to associate these special foods that you enjoy so much with that anxiety, and they're going to have a hard time appreciating these holidays. So try to keep it cool for yourself, for your kids, for overall enjoyment. And I touched on others' diet talk. Shut down any diet talk around your kids. It's not a good thing, either from you, your spouse, any of the family, but the loudest message comes from you. So it's really important that you have these good conversations with your kids. And I have a comment. Gabriella says, what great advice, balance the food on the plate. A lot of food is coming. Yeah, a lot of food is coming. And thank you so much for the comment, Gabriella. It's important not only for health, but for satiety, for overall enjoyment. So balance is key right here. And it's not because I'm advocating portion control during the holidays. It's kind of a ridiculous argument, right? So here are the points I was talking about from that blog. Eat breakfast and honor your hunger. Usually these big holiday meals are later in the afternoon, and you may be tempted to save up your appetite for that, but what happens is you get hangry, right? If you're watching this and you're a mom, you know what hangry is, because a lot of times it's out of our control, and we try to feed ourselves as often as we can so that we don't get there. But you can be the best parent possible when you are not hangry. So have a good breakfast. And I'm not talking about a bowl of cereal. A bowl of cereal is a perfectly fine breakfast on most days. But when you're gearing up towards a potentially stressful situation and a lot of food, you want a really balanced breakfast. You want some protein and some fat and some fiber. And that's not only going to hold you over until this big meal, depending on the timing. You may need a snack in between or another meal. But it's going to put you in the best possible mood when dealing with stressful situations. And honor your hunger. Your body is telling you that you're hungry, so you eat. When you're hungry, that's telling your body telling you that you need some calories. So put some calories in your body. If you want to flip this situation, we're talking about a basic biologic need, okay? Let's talk about another basic biological need. If you needed to use the restroom, would you look at your clock and say, it's not really healthy for me to go right now. I'm going to wait an hour. No, that's ridiculous. So why is it acceptable to base your eating on the clock, especially during the holidays? It's not logical. Sometimes we have, hormonal shifts, or maybe the meal you had earlier wasn't big enough. We have different reasons for getting hungry at different times. And generally it's good to keep up a schedule, but go easy on yourself. If your body is telling you something, listen to it. Establish boundaries. It's okay to take no. It's okay to say no, or to take seconds or thirds, whatever. It's nobody's business what's on your plate. And as I mentioned, if there are cultural reasons why people may be paying attention to what's on your plate, put something on your plate, but don't put it in your mouth. And it's really important to help establish those boundaries with your kids so that they understand that nobody tells them what to put in their mouth. The food is all out there. There's a lot of it. They get to choose what they want to try. There's no thank you bite. There's no one bite rule. I really don't advocate that because it's really intrusive telling someone else what to put in their body. You wouldn't do it with an adult. It's best to not do it with kids. They need to know that they own their bodies. And just as there's this movement now where we're telling our kids that they don't have to hug anyone they don't want to hug because that's their personal space, you don't want to invade their personal space by telling them what to put in their mouth. So walk away from triggering talk. And this is diet talk, as I mentioned. This is also anything that really hits your anxiety, anything that gets your anxiety going. Just walk away. Look, I'm sure that there are ways online to shut down conversations in nice ways. So look that up. Try to get good at shutting down conversation that causes anxiety. And really, the holidays are so rife with anxiety. Embrace the change in routine. I mentioned taking a step back and it's really important to take a step back when you're embracing this change in routine. I mean, normal Thanksgiving dinner happens at like, what, 3 or 4 o'clock. This is not normal. That's maybe a normal after school snack time. But things change during the holidays. And if you can just take a step back, take a deep breath, and go with it, you're going to enjoy it so much more. Show yourself and your spouse and your kids grace. Just go easy on yourself. Oh, and I skipped safe person. Okay, I loved this. Have a safe person. I used to have a bodyguard for Thanksgiving because I like cooking and that's my space. And people always tried to get into my kitchen space. And so she was the bodyguard. And this is a great example of having a safe person. If you're at a holiday party and you can identify someone who is a safe space where you can go to have conversation that isn't anxiety provoking, that's going to help calm you down and help you take a breath and relax. Identify that person, talk to them ahead of time. You can be each other's safe person. And that's a really important thing to do, to have that safe person, a place you can go. Or if that's not possible, even a safe space. I love this in my kids' kindergarten. They have this box with pillows and you can just crawl into it. And that's your safe space and be by yourself. And it's not as though you can bring a box of pillows inside to your family Christmas party and and crawl inside and say, I'm by myself now. There may be repercussions from that are not comfortable, but identify some kind of safe space where you can just get away and take a breath in order to regroup so that you can come back to a place where you're not anxious, where you can be relaxed. Focus on gratitude. Okay, this has been a really big thing the past few years, making lists of gratitude, but it really does help. It helps shift where your mind is. And if you're in a place where you're very anxious and things are not really going according to your plan or how you wanted them for the holidays, it's really important to focus on what is going right. And if you can't see anything that is going right, focus on all the things that didn't happen. You know, I mean, it's more of a morbid way to come about it, but it can still induce some gratitude. Guess what didn't happen? Okay, we didn't accidentally throw my child's favorite toy in the trash. And guess what? They didn't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning today. Focus on things that are positive that didn't happen when you can't focus on things that are positive that did happen. And you may come around and through that train of thought, you're reshifting your focus. You may be able to start looking at things that did happen in a more positive light once you're kind of already in that mode. Put your family first. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the lights and the decorations. It's such a pretty time of year. Go on a walk. I mean, weather permitting, obviously, or, available clothing permitting. Just enjoy the time with your family. Whatever works for you for reducing anxiety, identify it beforehand and do that. Have a plan of action so that you can enjoy the family and enjoy the whole season more. So that is Naptime Nutrition for today. I have some awesome events coming up, so sign up for my newsletter to find out what's going on. Next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Arizona time, which is now, you crazy people changing your clocks, 12 p.m. on the West Coast and 3 p.m. on the East Coast. I'm always open to suggestions as far as topics, and you won't want to miss next time. So see you next week, and happy holidays.